welcome to the Awakened and Aligned podcast. My name is Shannon Kaiser, and I'm so happy you're here with me today. We have a lot to unpack and a beautiful topic that will help us create more rewarding relationships with ourselves and connect deeper and more meaningfully with others. This is inspired by a recent Instagram post that I've done that's been widely talked about and shared, and people messaging me, and we'll go deeper into that, but also the video that I did last week recently about transactional relationships versus transformational relationships. Sometimes we get involved with people who it's about like a giving and taking, but most people will, if you're in a transactional relationship, there's takers and they're looking at what they can get. And if you don't realize you're in a transactional relationship, then you can feel taken advantage of, and you're often not having your needs met. And I'm talking about all types of relationships today, all things and that we connect with our relationships. We're in relationships with our neighbors, with our coworkers, with ourselves, with significant others, with friends and family members. So this is the umbrella over all of our relationships. And today we're going to talk about the difference between love and ego in relationships. And if you're involved in a relationship that is dominated by love versus ego. Now, ego is control, manipulation. It's the part of us that every one of us has our ego and love intact, right? But some of us lead with love more and some of us lead with ego more. And it's just about understanding where you want to be in your relationships. And quite honestly, if you're on this channel, then you probably have a really big heart and you have a lot of empathy, and you're a sensitive person who cares, because that's really what this platform is about. It's about helping you know your worth and your value and raising your standards, so you're not in a position where you're feeling manipulated or taken advantage of. And quite honestly, you deserve all the love in the world, but we have to first give that to ourselves. So today is an educational video to help us dive in, and let's just get right to it. So this is a post that I had on Instagram, and it says, "This isn't love." My Instagram is Shannon Kaiser Writes, but I'm going to talk about some tactics. If you're in a relationship and you're thinking, gosh, I'm really trying to make it work and it's not working, there might be a reason. And it's because you might be approaching it from a love. I want to work on this. I want compassion. I'm looking for us to grow together. Whereas the other person might be very interested in being in a dynamic of control and manipulation and power. And they're looking at their relationship dominating from a place of power. So that's where we're going. So the very first thing you want to look at, as I take you through these steps, we're also going to go through 4 steps on how you can claim your personal boundaries and get back to you to have stronger, healthier relationships. So the first one is to look for transactional dynamics. And this is, see the other video that I posted about transactional relationships. A transactional dynamic is if they're constantly, if you feel like you're in a relationship, no matter what type of relationship, where you're being reminded of what the other person has done for you, or you're feeling like you owe them, and they're giving because they want to get something back. It's just like an energy as well as a verbal, maybe you buy something and they automatically say, okay, well, you get the next one, or I got the last one, so you get this one. And it's always about like keeping score. That actually is more grounded. It's not love. That's grounded in ego, manipulation, and control. So just recognize that if you're in a transactional relationship, that's actually not grounded in reciprocity. Another one is if you're in a connection where there's an intolerance for conflict, perhaps the conflict happens when it's on their terms. But if you bring up an issue and it blindsides them or something, you may get the person that you're in a connection with may get angry, may go to shaming, they may go to name calling or blaming. Triangulation is a popular tactic between with people who are in controlling dynamics. Triangulation is where they bring in other people. Well, my other friend didn't say this, or my ex never did this. You're so difficult. Or they bring in other people that really has nothing to do with the situation you're talking about, but they do that to kind of silence you or make you start to question yourself. And so this is a form of gaslighting. It's also just a big form of emotional manipulation. Recognize that this is not love. I'm going through the Instagram posts here so you can see as we slide through. It's not love at all. It's actually ego. And ego is a desperation for love, and it's protecting itself from getting hurt. And that's a whole nother video. We'll do it another time, but recognize it's not actually grounded in love. It's rooted in fear. So if you're in a connection or a relationship or friendship where there's constant confusion, Do you find yourself in situationships, or you're constantly chasing someone or wondering why there's so much uncertainty, or maybe there's a lot of misleading information? Maybe you also feel like there's unpredictable behavior, hot and cold. These are forms of emotional manipulation, and also just people not being able to be honest with themselves, no matter what type of connection it is. If you're feeling confused and uneasy, this is not love. It's control, it's ego, it's manipulation. And so there's also another thing you can look at in your relationships, which is a lack of reciprocity. Do you feel like you're giving more than you get? A lot of the times we will compromise, or we become more flexible. Maybe you're easygoing, or you want to be kind of not rocking the boat. I know as a former people pleaser, that's something that is really important to look at is, are you putting your needs first, not from a place of selfishness, but a place of, I know that I need to take care of myself so I can then be there for other people. And if you are, then that's a healthier dynamic versus I need to take care of other people because when they're okay, I'm okay. So people who are taking advantage of your kindness or weakness will honestly just keep taking all of that love you're giving without really reciprocating it. And so if you're in a connection, whether it's a friendship, a significant other, any type of relationship, where it's always on their terms, what they want, when they want, how they want it, and your wishes and your needs are never really considered, or if they are considered, it feels like a big chore. Maybe they sigh, maybe they create an argument, maybe it's like, oh, I did this for you, and all the other tactics we talked about come into play, then this is emotional manipulation. This is not love. This is grounded in ego. They're more interested in controlling you versus having a healthy dynamic. And then the last one we'll talk about today is if you're feeling like you're in a connection, and stay with me because I'm going to share 4 tips to really break free from these types of dynamics. If you're feeling alone, unheard, unseen, if you feel misunderstood, you feel like they're not actually trying to get to know you, it's a very superficial connection, or you're wanting more than they can give. Some people really can't give more than they have, and we can only give to the capacity of the love we have for ourselves, the amount of healing and inner healing that we've done, and the amount of inner child work that we've done to recognize. Because a lot of people who are acting in this space of manipulating you or controlling or causing chaos or not being honest with you are actually acting from an unhealed childhood wound. But that's not really for you. You're not here to fix people. You're here to take care of you and call in healthier relationships. So if you're not getting your needs met and you're staying in a situation, then you have to look at, why am I allowing myself to have other people's needs more important than my own? Why is it that I have feelings and needs that I'm allowing myself to not get taken into account? Most often it is because we have a childhood wound where a parent that we didn't have the healthiest relationship with, or we didn't feel like we got the love that we needed, we're often unconsciously trying to replay that dynamic in our adulthood. So we get into these relationships and these connections with people who, if your emotional needs weren't met as a child, perhaps you had a father who was never there, was always at work, and you felt maybe you were emotionally neglected. You might be involved with many emotionally unavailable people because that dynamic feels very familiar. We've trained ourselves as children to think that this is love. But I'm here to tell you, this is not love. You are not loving yourself by staying in these relationships. So what we have to do is redefine how we're looking at our love, how we're looking at receiving love, and first and foremost, give that love to yourself. And so what we have to recognize is that this is emotional abuse. You are in an emotional abusive relationship, and it's not talked about because it's not physical abuse, but emotional abuse is just as damaging, if not more, because it stays with us in our psyches for a very long time. And a lot of trauma specialists will talk about how the PTSD comes out very strong with emotional abuse because it's so insidious and it's so covert sometimes, just digging under you. So you really want to be aware about what you're allowing in your life. This is about self-respect and self-love for you. So as you recognize this is emotional abuse and you come to terms with, I'm in an emotional abusive relationship with this person, we have to look at the connections and what you are allowing and tolerating and why you're tolerating it. And once you start to go on a deeper inner child healing process, which is much deeper than we can do in this video, we're touching the surface. Of course, in my coaching, I'm a trauma-informed life coach and empowerment coach. We go much deeper one-on-one. You can check those out in my website. But the reality is we can make changes. And I'm going to share 4 steps with you right now that you can do to really reclaim your personal power and recognize that you deserve better. So number 1 is to stop making excuses for dysfunctional behavior and bad behavior. Quite honestly, you're sticking around trying to see if people will change, hoping they change, hoping you can go back to the way it was when they were very kind and loving and love bombing, perhaps. This is, we hold on because we're wanting a fantasy. So you really, number 1 is to let go of the fantasy. These types of relationships are built on illusion, ego, control, and fantasy. Your fantasy of it can get better. I know this person can change. I can help fix them or rescue them. All of that is a fantasy that keeps you stuck in the loop of mistreatment because their need for control, knowing that they're not really going to change, but you thinking they do, creates this cycle, this trauma bond, which we'll talk about in another video. So really, you break free by recognizing that what is more important than what might be. And you reclaim your personal power. So that's step 1, is to recognize if you're in potential versus what is and ignoring the red flags. Step 2, I know I said step 1 at first, but step 2 is really to stop making excuses and walk away. Reclaim your personal power. Walk away. Start to recognize that this feels too familiar. And if it feels too familiar, then I deserve better and I choose better. If you are in a connection with someone and all of a sudden, it's been really good. I'll give you an example. I was in a friendship and it felt really good. It felt good. I noticed some red flags, but I was like, it's just a friendship. No problem. No worries. Let the person be who they are. All of a sudden, they got into a huge fight with me out of nowhere. It was over nothing, but I could tell that they had picked the fight, manipulated the situation, and within a short span of 20 minutes of them raising their voice and yelling at me and being very just aggressive, I didn't match them. I just observed and looked for clarity, and I looked for the truth, and I wanted to seek the truth, and I would ask questions back while they were getting angry. But what I noticed is everything that they were pulling out was manipulation tactics. All of a sudden, this friend that I thought was a healthy dynamic was triangulating, shaming, blaming, deflecting, and gaslighting, all within one period of one fight. I recognized instantly that this person is super toxic and is not focused on a healthy dynamic. They're more interested in control and ego. They hid it for a very while, but that is a sign. Immediately, I decided to close out the friendship because what you allow, people will continue to do. And I've been in too many dysfunctional relationships in the past to allow that. And I said to myself, this is too familiar. I choose different. I'm not going to make excuses for this person or have them in my life if they're going to mistreat me. This is what self-love is. This is what self-respect is. And I want this for you. You deserve better. And you absolutely can have better. You have to first show up for yourself. So the next step is to listen to your intuition. Your intuition is always talking to you, and listen to it and trust your body's clues. In fact, if you go back to the very beginning of this connection that you feel might be dysfunctional, you probably see the red flags, but you ignored it because you wanted it so bad, or you ignored it because you wanted to believe in the good in people. It doesn't necessarily matter why you ignored it. The truth is, here you are right now. Why are you still ignoring it? Turn the dialogue around, turn the dynamic around, and reclaim your personal power. And the final one is to take care of yourself. Focus on you, self-love, love yourself. Really look at yourself by doing inner child work, seek out therapy, work with coaches, read books that will help you, journal, meditate, do all the things you can for you to really understand why you're allowing these dynamics, because the truth is you deserve so much more. You are worthy of love, of great real love, and it's out there. This love that you've been allowing is not real love. It's fake, forced ego love, grounded in control and illusion. It's time to step forward into your life and really reclaim yourself first. Save yourself by saying, I know I deserve more. I'm going to work on me. I'm going to show up for me because I love me. I want healthier situations in my life because I know I'm worth it. I hope this has helped you. I hope this resource today can help you call in healthier relationships, because nobody deserves abuse. Nobody on this planet should be in an abusive situation. I'm sending you lots of love, and I hope you have a beautiful week. Thanks for tuning in.